Hey guys, it's Tamz, Wiki Witch. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all well. Welcome to my new subscribers and all that good stuff. So I said in one of my last videos that I was going to start making a little sort of series about different things for people who are stepping onto a pagan path. So new witches basically. And I'm going to try and do a whole series of this, and it's going to have its own playlist. I haven't set that up yet, but this is the first video, and I just thought it'd be interesting to just share a few things with, you know, make a video, share a few things. I'm not an expert or anything like that. Just share a few things over the many years that I've been obviously a practicing witch and been pagan, and going back to when I was sort of first introduced to certain things and how it's kind of worked for me, and just a few ideas for people really. So if you think you might like that sort of thing, follow along. I'm going to try and make one every single week. So what I thought I'd do with this first one is basically just call it stepping onto a pagan path, because that's kind of like the first initial steps when you first step in on, and everything is like bombarded. You're bombarded with all this new information and you don't quite know what to do with it. And this is why I thought these videos would be useful. Obviously there are many on YouTube. I'm sure there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them, whatever, but I just thought it would be, you know, be nice to share a few thoughts and throw out a few ideas for people, so it's not quite so much when they're first stepping out and you know, and finding their way in the world of witchcraft and paganism. So yeah, let's jump into it. As I say, this is just the first video, and this is what I thought I'd be talking about. So I think you know, even if you're not too sure what's happening, I think you know that something in your mind has kind of changed, and you've started to look into certain things. Okay, so for myself, I was only 14 and I'd got these kind of urges to have this great big altar in my bedroom, which I made from cardboard boxes and put a black velvet sheet over, and I had all my things displayed on it. So I think my mum thought I was making a shop front, because I had a very gothic style bedroom, but I had a chalice, I had a farmate, it was a letter opener with a big dragon wrapped around it, and I had a little cauldron, and I had cards, and I'd got incense, and I'd got candles, and I'd got skulls, and I'd got all these bits, which is basically like an altar setup, but I didn't know why I wanted them. Okay, so that was quite funny to me when I look back, because at the time it was just like, oh, you know, it's kind of like a goth thing, it's all kind of black and creepy, and nobody would have ever thought anything other than that. But I think that was kind of, I was also obsessed with Egyptians. I remember this magazine, I don't remember what it was called, but it came out, it was one of those monthly magazines you got from the newsagents, and every month you got an Egyptian statue. Excuse me. And I bought it for about 5 or 6 months, and I got Anubis, and I got like a pyramid, and I got a sarcophagus, and I got like the scarab beetle, and I had all these little Egyptian statues also on this sort of altar setup, which was on a black little coffee table, and it all, you know, and I had the bigger boxes at the back, and it all came down with the, and so you could set everything out. And you know, when I think back, it was just really funny to me. But and I didn't know why. I just, you know, I was really interested in Egypt, and we never did anything about Egypt or anything like that at school. We never learnt anything exciting at school. So I actually was buying this magazine, and I was reading all about it. Now, obviously, this magazine told you about history. It did not tell you about anything kind of pagan. And also it didn't tell you about mythology or anything like that. So a lot of the information, of course, is hidden. It's such a more relaxed time now in 2024. There is so much information available, but going back to the 80s, there wasn't, and 90s, there wasn't information. It was very difficult to find information in the UK. I don't know about elsewhere in the world, but it was very difficult. You had information about the occult and witchcraft, but it was all kind of written from the side of the Christian church. Okay, it was that kind of, it was written, so everything was bad, and there was no information as such, you know. So it's very difficult. But now you've got so much information, you know, it doesn't have to be as scary, and as, you know, you just got to get your mind around not absorbing too much and getting confused. You just have to take a step back, and that's something that I think is quite a big deal. There's so much information out there. So we've kind of gone from no information in the 80s and 90s, and now we've got too much information, and it can be quite overwhelming. And as a new witch walking onto the pagan path for the first time, this is what I would say to you. Don't go and buy every single book, but buy enough books. If you feel drawn to say, buy it. You know, most of them are secondhand now on eBay. You can pick up books from obviously your local witchy shops if you've got one, but most of the stuff you can get on Amazon and on eBay. If you feel drawn to something, buy it, because there might be a reason that you're feeling drawn to that. But as much as you can, and don't panic too much about the different styles, you know. If you're not too sure what sort of a witch you want to be, because you don't know, you're only just stepping on, and there's all different sorts, and it's like, am I a Wiccan, or am I a pagan witch, or am I eclectic? Am I going to end up eclectic? What is Wicca the right way? Am I going to be this? Am I going to be that? Am I going to be a heathen? You don't know until you find your way on the path, and then it all comes naturally, and then you start realizing, I like this. And you know, 10 years down the line, you might change. You might change and go off into another direction, but try not to get too overwhelmed, is what I'm saying, with all the information coming at you. But reading books is very, very important. And also we've got YouTube, which is really good now. You didn't have YouTube in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. So you couldn't watch people talking about things, which would have been so much help, you know. So, yeah, so going back to me at 14, I had this urge to write in these books, but I didn't know what the books were. And I had a diary, you know, and that would be full of stupid, you know, a list of CDs from Iron Maiden that I wanted, or, you know, I want these t-shirts, or me and my boyfriend went out and we did this, or whatever. But that wasn't, but I could feel inside me, this wasn't what I was meant to be writing. So then I thought, and I remember thinking, maybe I'm supposed to be an author when I'm older. Perhaps I'm going to be an author, because I had this thing about writing everything. And it's like I could see me with all these books writing all this stuff. So I went through a phase of trying to write ghost stories. I actually kept them all. They weren't bad, actually, for a 14-year-old. I actually read one a little while ago. The spellings are still bad. I still can't spell. It was all these little things, you know. So then, yeah, everything from then onwards kind of just stayed. I wore pentagrams around my neck, because it was kind of a gothic look. I didn't really understand in full what it meant, but I knew it was something to do with the pagan people and the witchcraft, and that was all I knew. And my mum never really pushed anything onto me. You know, my mum and dad were never pushy people. You found your own information and sorted yourself, you know. They weren't like pushy, making you do something or anything. They weren't that sort of person. So my mum was very psychic, and I was very much aware of that from a kid. And I knew that, and it didn't frighten me. And I myself had very strange things happen to me, but I didn't know what they were. I went through a phase of, when I was about 8 or 9, being able to lift myself out of bed and go. I didn't realise that was astral projection. I thought I was levitating, and just honestly, when I used to tell my friends, they used to think I was a liar and be nasty to me. So then I stopped telling anybody, and slowly it stopped. But that was astral projection. You know, I used to go for many walks and wander, and I didn't know what it was. So see, there's all these things that were coming to me from a really early age. I didn't know what they were, and it took quite a long time. It took till 1998, 1999 for me to suddenly start having this major interest. And then what really helped was an occult shop, a pagan witchy shop opened in our town. And I didn't realise that that's what it was going to be until she put up her sign. And I could see all this kind of cool stuff in there, and that was it. I didn't know what it was going to actually be. We used to have psychic fairs and that in the local town, and me and my friends used to go, and they'd have some witchy stalls and that. But again, I was still, you know, so from 14 right through till I was 20, I'm going to say 22, I didn't have a clue really why I had all this stuff in my head. And that's why I wanted to make these videos, because that was wasted years for me, really. I could have been onto it a lot earlier, but I didn't realise and I didn't know. So when the shop opened and you got to go in and you got to speak with her, then it all made sense. And I've been going in there ever since, and she's been open now for 25 years she's been open. So and once I'd got in there and once I'd spoken, that was when things were much clearer. And that's when I started really being able to do little practices, and I never rushed into anything because I was scared I was going to get it wrong, you know. But I already knew all this other stuff, you know. I knew about astral projection now once I realised I was doing it, but I thought it was something else, and it was all these things came together. So the only thing that I didn't do, and it's weird because I thought I should be doing it with the writing of everything, I never wrote things down. And my biggest thing, if I could tell somebody who's just stepping into witchcraft, or you know, thinks they might be a witch and wants to step onto a pagan path, get yourself journals. It doesn't matter if it's out at the pound shop and it's just ruled and it's just £1. Write everything down, you know, whatever it is. And then this beautiful book that I got for you on Christmas from my boss. If you want to keep a proper grimoire, that can all come later. Don't stress and don't start panicking about, but write everything down just on some paper. Just get some textbooks at the pound shop or whatever you've got. Just write down everything, because later on down the line, these things start coming into play and they make sense. Trust me. Write everything down. If you've had a bit of an issue, you know, if you've had a bit of a thing and you're not quite sure what it means, write it all down. Don't ever question yourself on how crazy something sounds, because and I'll tell you a few little bits. I won't tell you the, you know, every single thing that's ever happened to me, because that'd be boring, wouldn't it? But one of the craziest things that happened to me was with the goddess Morrigan. When she came forward to me and she found me, I didn't know she was. So, you know, in fact, at that time, I hadn't even heard of her. I didn't know she was. And I kept getting some very strange black feathers, and I actually thought there was a crow on my front room floor. I heard the flapping and I thought, oh my God, a bird's got in. At the time we had 4 dogs. We had 2 staffies and 2 Labradors, and I thought a bird's got in, and I came in and I just saw the wing. There was nothing there. And I was like, God, I'm seeing things now. It was really crazy. And I had this flapping noise, and then all these other amazing things started coming through every time I shut my eyes. And then, because it turns out it was Morrigan, and she's been with me ever since. And I also had some very exciting kind of trance work, and I don't take any kind of drugs, never have done, to go into a trance or anything like that. I don't take anything, and I don't do magic when I've had a drink. If I've had a beer or something, I wouldn't do it, because it kind of interrupts, I think. But if people wish to do drugs and get, you know, like the shamanic, I really love the shamanic stuff. It's amazing, and that's really interesting. I know they do sometimes take kind of herbal hallucinogenics. I don't do things like that. So all of my experiences were, you know, on soberness, and it was just amazing. So yeah, make sure you write every single thing down in some sort of textbook to go back to, and then you can start piecing things together. So as a new witch stepping onto this path, you're inquisitive about everything and you don't know anything, okay? So it's kind of a nightmare, because you know you want to get all these books and read them. And I suggest you watch your YouTube videos and watch other people and the things that you're interested in and the things that you feel drawn towards. I would go with that for now. And as you go through, you can pick bits out. And, you know, I'm very eclectic, so I'm not Wiccan at all. I'm not Wiccan, but I have Scott Cunningham books because I pick bits of Wicca and I use it, but I'm not Wiccan. I'm not Wiccan at all. Scott Cunningham's books are really good and he teaches you all these things, but I don't follow and I don't do the ceremonial. I do my own rituals and how I wish to do them. But starting out, this is all information that you can use. You know, there's so many people. Rachel Patterson, she writes the best little, she writes bigger books as well, but she does the little thin Pagan portal books. They are really good. Also not mega expensive. They're like £6-7, I think now. She does ones about the moon and ones about this, that and the other. And those are the kind of books you want to read when you're trying to learn about your moon phases and all that, because you do kind of start getting a bit, oh, I don't get it. Don't panic, it will come to you. Once you start practicing and you're using the moon, it really will come to you. But to start with, you're looking at all these circles and half circles thinking, you know, I don't know what none of this is, but it will come to you. So she's really good. There's loads and loads of brilliant authors. I'm not going to sit and list them all because what I find brilliant might not be for somebody else. I will do a book. I will do a video of my witchcraft library and you'll be able to see what books I've got, and maybe we'll put this into this section of videos. Maybe we'll put it into this series so you can see, perhaps at a later date. But again, I wouldn't go out and buy every single book you see, because you do end up getting books that repeat themselves and it's the same thing. So I would just buy some, if you feel that it's of interest to you, I would read it, because there might be a reason for that. Okay, so if you're drawn towards certain things, then yeah, that's where I would go with that. Now, when you're first stepping on, I would just do lots of reading. I wouldn't start panicking about deities and, you know, what deities, because trust me, that comes later. And even though it's amazing and you may have already started learning about some of the deities and, you know, and this, that and the other, don't rush into trying to learn it all in the first 3 days, because all you'll do is overload yourself and start getting a bit stressed, because it's quite a lot. Just one subject is so much information, and there is quite a lot that goes with paganism and witchcraft. So take it in your stride and take it gradually, you know. So I just thought we'd start with this. It's just a little chatty chat, really, just to tell you, don't get stressed. Don't overload your brain. Write everything down. You don't have to have an elaborate grimoire or a book of shadows yet. Don't even start that. Just write it in textbooks, notebooks, whatever you've got. If you're an organised person and you want to separate bits, that's great, because you're going back to this later and it will make sense, but at the minute none of it will make sense. Anything you get coming to you, if you're already doing meditation, you might be, a lot of people meditate and they're not pagan or into witchcraft or anything like that. They just meditate for stress relief. I don't meditate to mellow out. I meditate for information to do with witchcraft, and a lot of witches do, and a lot of witches do both. Well, I don't. I've never meditated to relax. I should probably. I've never done it. I've only ever done it to go into trance work to find information out, especially for the Egyptian magic, which came to me. So all those years ago at age 14, when I was collecting all those bits and not knowing why, 25 years later, as a witch, I have an altar. I have Egyptian deities who are on my altar, and everything did finally make sense. And it was so funny how it all came about in the end. We got there with it, and then I realised what it was all about. It was showing me, but I wasn't ready. And if you're not ready, sometimes you won't. How it all comes in is very strange. So yeah, I just thought I'd make this video and do a little bit of a chat about, you know, trying not to get too stressed with things. Yeah, just make sure you write everything down, and yeah, I hope you follow along. We're going to do a video each week, so I might even put 2 out this week. I don't know, I might do another one Sunday. Anyway, please like, please subscribe. I'm just putting my hand up to my husband because I don't want him to walk in. Please like, please subscribe, please follow along with this series, and anything else you might like on my channel. I have loads and loads of witchcraft on a budget, I've got pagan playlists. If you look through my playlists, you'll see lots of stuff. But again, don't bombard yourselves with too much, or if you do watch it, don't get stressed about the information. Some of it won't make any sense to you at all, and it really won't. So don't stress about that, because eventually it all will come to you and you'll be absolutely fine. I just wish somebody had told me this when I was 14, 15 and first discovering all these things, which I knew nothing about and I didn't understand. And that's why I thought I would start making these videos. So as I say, we're going to do one a week, and yeah, try and get a nice big playlist of all new witchy kind of things for people who are just stepping onto their path. And yeah, if there's anything you'd like me to cover, drop it in the comments for me. I'm also on Instagram. I am on TikTok, but I keep forgetting to do it. I'll put my details below. Send me a private message if you don't want to come, you know, don't want to show up asking for something, and we'll make a video about it. So yeah, I hope this was interesting, and I hope it's calmed you down a little bit. And now we'll start on the next video. We'll start delving into each section, and we're going to do it gradually. Each section of things that you know, that you can start to learn as you proceed forward down the path. So yeah, I hope you all have a very good weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Oh, and happy Imbolc, because later on today it's Imbolc, but you might not know that yet because that's a Sabbath, and you know, we're not quite there yet with that. But for anybody else watching who follows me, happy Imbolc, guys. And yeah, see you all soon. Take care. Ta-da. Bye.